Welcome everybody to Make It Make Sense with Monique Pressley. I'm your host, Monique Pressley. Happy Monday to you. Thanks so much for joining. As always, this is the program where we take 30 minutes out of your day and try to do exactly what the title says. Make it make sense. The complex topics, the things we need to know, the questions maybe we don't even want to ask, or the things, frankly, that we try to find out from the news, and by the time all of the back and forth bickering and fighting and opining is done, we still don't have the who, what, where, when, why. So this is the space where we work to change all of that, where we're bringing you information and we're bringing you inspiration. We're bringing you provocation and we're bringing you motivation, but it all will be based, all of it will be based in data and based in fact. Today is Monday. It's Motivation Monday. I hope that you had a great weekend and that you're already, frankly, feeling motivated to just get out there and take the world by storm and do whatever it is you're supposed to be doing and do it with excellence. But if you're not, we're going to try to fix that and add something to it for you here. If you are not yet subscribed to my YouTube channel, please do so. Please subscribe. Today, MoniquePressley TV, that's where all the full episodes of the show are going. We're live here for the broadcast, but then the MoniquePressley TV YouTube channel is where you can find those. And if you have not yet joined supporting our broadcast and supporting our content, we would love to have you. You can support us at the link tree in my bio, but it's through Cash App. It's $ Monique Pressley TV. It's paypal.me/Monique Pressley TV. You can go to Patreon and support us. Or you can do what our guest today is doing. You can become a friend of the show, or you can advertise with us. You can reach me for that at sales@MoniquePressleyTV.com, sales@MoniquePressley.com, and someone will get right back to you. But today, I'm really excited. If you notice, we're doing a fundraiser for Black Voters Matter. So please give. If you don't know about Black Voters Matter, you'll be able to find out everything you need to know from their chief executive in just a few minutes. But I'm showing you ways you can donate, and then you can also donate here during the broadcast. When we post this, when we post the reel for it, there will be a way that you can donate through the reel as well. But for now, let me clear it off, because my guest is the co-founder, friend of the show for sure already, who's been with us before, but now here for us to just figure out what we need to do to motivate these Black voters. And as you can see as the top, for me to welcome Black Voters Matter Fund officially as a friend of the show, so we can talk about all of the exciting ways that we will be working together to get out the vote and to let people know that not just our vote, but us as voters matter between now and midterms, which is 100 minus 1 days away. 99 days away. Would you please welcome friend of the show, Cliff Albright. Hi.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going great. You see I got my merch on?
I see. All right. We're so glad to be a friend of the show.
Yeah, I'm hyped up. I'm hyped up. I'm ready. And we're ready. So welcome so much, Cliff. We're always thankful when you can come, because you come and give us, the truth, no chaser, and the facts, and what we need to do and why. And you and your organization don't at all hesitate to bring our government to task as well for the deliverables that are promised to Black voters. But for people who have no idea what Black Voters Matter Fund is or what you do, please tell us.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. And yeah, just real quick, we are first and foremost a power building organization, right? And that means that we're about building power in predominantly Black communities. Voting is one way of doing that. It's not the only way though, right? But it's an important way. So part of how we do our work, and just about everything that we do in partnership with local groups in the communities that we serve, in states that are often neglected, definitely in some rural areas and smaller cities that are often neglected. But what we do is we start from the premise that there are organizations, community-based groups that are doing amazing work, but they are under-resourced. So we started Black Voters Matter Fund. That last word is really important, funds, because we wanted to be able to fund that work, because we wanted to be able to show that the problem that there's no such thing as a red state. There are only states that are underfunded and under-resourced, and community groups that are under-resourced, and to be able to show the amazing things that we can do when those groups get that support. And so we've shown that time and time again. We showed in Alabama what groups can do when they get some support. They can shock the country and win a Senate seat in a state like Alabama. We showed them last year in Georgia what groups can do when they get the right level of resources. They can shock the country and not just flip a presidential election, but flip two Senate seats. These things have been happening. And this work has been going on, but it's been under-resourced and underappreciated, and that's part of why we started the group.
So when you say, and I think even that part is interesting, and people who are not as close to politics don't understand. Sometimes they think, oh, well, they put up the wrong candidate, or, oh, they just didn't get the vote out. But one, if you don't have the funds to mobilize, you're dead in the water. And two, you can't out mobilize voter suppression.
Right. Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, we can do everything right. We can put resources in the hands of community groups. They can do everything right and reach all the voters that they wanted to reach in our target universe and all of that stuff. And we can actually get enough votes to win elections. But if at the end of the day, if our opposition has the ability to change the outcome of elections, to waive off a particular county, just like what they were trying to do in Michigan, where they wanted to get rid of all the votes, the Black votes in Detroit, and when Trump called up the Secretary of State and he was mad about Fulton County, which is where Atlanta sits, and he was trying to get rid of those Black votes. They didn't have the power to do that in most of these states a couple of years ago, but because of the wave of voter suppression, they now have that power. You can't out-organize that. That requires that you get official support, governmental support, federal monitors, and federal legislation. And those are things that we've been demanding for the past year and a half, ever since we saw this wave of voter suppression coming. But with that said, the first step is for us to get those votes, right? To be able to get, to be able to make the case that we've actually won this election and now people are trying to steal it. So those are the conversations that we're trying to have. And it's both conversations, because it's not an either or. We need to be fighting for that legislation and federal protections, but we also need to be having these hard conversations in our community to make it clear why this is such a critical election, what issues are at stake, what issues we've seen movement on over the past year and a half, and what issues still remain to get more action on, and how us coming out will be able to make that happen.
Well, and you all at Black Voters Matter Fund are now a proven commodity. As you said, without you weren't tooting your own horn, so I'll do it. But I just know that the flips in those southern states, and even the states where we came close, like big investments that you've been making with organizations on the ground in my home state of Texas and elsewhere, things that just have to be worked over time. What's the formula though, Cliff? Like, what's the secret sauce that enables you to be successful in garnering participation and more voters?
Yeah, so there's a couple of things to it, right? First off, we believe that in order for Black voters to matter, right, that messaging matters, that we've got to message to our community in a certain kind of way, in a way that's culturally relevant, right, that deals with our culture, our faith, in a way that inspires, right, in a way where we're honest about the challenges that we're facing and the obstacles that we're facing, but in doing so that we're not just speaking from a position of fear, that we're speaking from a position of power. There's nothing wrong with pointing out the dangers that we're facing. And be clear, y'all, we are facing some very real dangers right now. Some folks that are literally trying to take us back, not just to 1965, but to 1865. They are really trying to take us back to when they say make America great. The last time they feel America was great, there was still slavery. I am not kidding. I'm not playing around with y'all. And so there's nothing wrong with pointing that out, but also saying, but that this isn't about being fearful of that. It's about being aware. and then
Yeah.
recognizing that we've got the power to make sure that doesn't happen. That's not just a fear tactic, right? If we're walking on a dirt road and I say, hey, there's a snake up ahead, I'm not saying that so that you could just be fearful. I'm saying that so that you can then take the appropriate action that you need to take in order to avoid that snake. That's what we're trying to do right now. We're trying to have some very real conversations about the real threats that we're facing, but being clear that we've got the power not just to hold off those threats, but in fact to even move the conversation forward towards a different kind of vision that we have for our communities and for that society. When we message in a way that speaks to that power, that centers us, that doesn't center the candidates, that doesn't even center the party, right? Because it's not about them, it's about us. When we speak to folks from that perspective and not just about the ritual of voting, the tradition of voting, not telling them that they got to vote because somebody died for them, which is true, but that's not necessarily a motivating speech for some folks. They want to know what exactly is it that we're going to get out of that. We got to have those conversations that make it crystal clear.
One of the things that I love about the way that you all have those conversations, or one of the ways that you have those conversations, is the big buses and the small ones that have all of the Black Voters Matter signage on it and the music coming out of the bus. Because what I saw firsthand, and I took some rides with you all, is that people in communities where everybody else, elected officials, people running for office, census just writes them off, like doesn't even bother to go in those neighborhoods because they say nobody votes in those neighborhoods. And when the buses come through, the people light up because they're seen, because somebody is actually taking the time to come in there and yes, say that you want to get them out to vote, but to talk to them about what are their issues, what are their concerns. I mean, how much of a role does that play in your on the ground organizing?
It plays a huge role, and you mentioned it, you've seen it when we go to places like in Texas, when we go to places like Galveston or to Beaumont, right? Places that don't get as much of attention as places like Houston or Dallas, or when even in a big city like a Houston, when we go to some place like Ninth Ward or something like that, Ninth Ward, Fourth Ward, when we go to the places that don't get a lot of attention, because be clear, even in the cities, people still treat certain pockets of our community as if they don't exist and if they don't
That's right.
matter, and they'll overlook them. We've seen campaign buses for the party and for candidates that'll literally skip over whole neighborhoods on their way to get to the voters that they think are the important voters or the super voters. So when we go to communities like that, when we go to rural areas, when we go to places like Southwest Georgia, that often gets overlooked because of Metro Atlanta, when we go to those places, in states that themselves are often overlooked and treated like it's ceded territory that they're just gonna give away to the opposition, folks respond because, like you said, they feel seen, right? They've never
Yeah.
seen the blackest bus in America come rolling through their community. They've never seen like a traveling polling place party, coming through their city or through their county, and that means a lot. And when people feel connected, when they feel like they're no longer alone, like everybody wants to be a part of the team, right?
That's
Nobody
right.
wants to just be out there on their own, because when you by yourself, you don't feel like you can win stuff. But when you know you got a crew, when you know that you are part and that you're connected to a wider movement, now all of a sudden, what can you walk up a little taller, right? You got a little more pep in your step. And
Yeah.
so that's part of what we want to do, is let folks know that you matter, and that you matter so much that we are willing to travel around the country in the blackest bus of America, sometimes going through dangerous situations. And wait till you see the next design that we got coming up. We change the design on our bus every year. We've gone from The South is Rising to Can't Stop, Won't Stop to We Got Power. Last year we did the Freedom Ride. We got a new one coming out in just a few weeks, and y'all gonna love it. But we do that, and we go to those places because we want folks to know that they matter. And we're not just saying that you matter, we're willing to travel and show up and be there in order to demonstrate that you matter.
Well, I'm a witness, and I see people on here. I see friends on here who are in Galveston County. They know for sure. You might remember meeting Attorney Teresa Hudson. I see her husband Todd is on here. I see people who are on here from Houston who know for sure of the work that you do. I can attest you in Third Ward, Fourth Ward, Fifth Ward. The blackest bus in America pulled up at the Turkey Hut, y'all. Pulled up at Turkey Hut. spent money in a Black-owned business, talked to people in the community, and it is beautiful to see, but it is also very effective. So I just have a few more minutes. I want to talk about these polls, Cliff. Can't get on here and not address what we are dealing with, because it's Motivation Monday, and CNN's latest poll said Black folks ain't that motivated. That's what they're saying. They're saying that the approval with the administration, it has dipped significantly for Black voters, and even more so for Latinx voters. And the word on the street, and the word in my chat today, and the word everywhere is they promise this, they promise that, they can't get this done, they can't get that done. Why should I bother?
I'm so glad you raised that, because this takes having some honest conversations, right? You've got some folk out there that want us to act like this party isn't just a political party, that it's a cult. Right, and that we can't criticize. Like, our only role is to just show up and support folk, and then we don't get the right to ask some questions. Like, we don't get the right to hold some folks accountable. Our responsibility doesn't end on election day. That's just the beginning. We then have to hold folks accountable. But you got some people that don't want us to do that, and when we're in the midst of an election cycle, and it doesn't do us any good if, when we go out and we try to talk to voters, community members who are frustrated, just like what you're saying, you hearing the same thing we're hearing, right? It does us no good to act like those frustrations are just coming out of nowhere, right? It does us no good to try to do an old Jedi mind trick, like, oh no, you have gotten everything that you asked for. Like, that's not going to work, right? The Jedi mind trick isn't going to work. And so the first thing we got to do is to acknowledge that the frustrations that people are feeling are real. That the shortcomings, that some of the things that weren't delivered, it's real that we don't have a George Floyd Act. It's real that we don't have a Voting Rights Act. And so we got to acknowledge that when we hear that frustration, but we can't let it stop there. We then got to continue the conversation and then be able to talk about, why is it we weren't able to get those things? Why is it that when we thought that we had a majority in the Senate, that we didn't really have a majority, because we had two folks on there, two snakes that were actually playing for the other team, right? To be able to explain that to folks so that they can understand what exactly is it that we'll be able to get done if we get some extra seats. We need the House to do its job and to pass some stuff, because sometimes people, they don't want to pass stuff if they think that it's not going to pass the Senate, so they'll just leave it alone. No, you got to go on and pass that stuff in the House so that we can make the case. See, if we had a Senate that look more like the House, or even bigger with a bigger margin, then guess what? This is the kind of thing that we'd be able to get done. But if you're not going to fight for the stuff because you don't think we have a chance to winning, then you don't have anything to really show those tangible differences. So we got to have some conversations that, one, acknowledges that, yes, there are some things that didn't get done that we need to get done, to be able to explain why that happened, and to be able to draw the line and be able to make very clear what's at stake if we let these other folk get in. Because if you're unhappy with the folks that we thought were going to do more for us, wait till you see what happens when you let the insurrectionists be in charge. Wait till you see what happens when you let the folks that were trying to overturn Black folks, the folks that make the argument every day that Black lives don't matter, the folks that are trying to erase our history and that are burning and banning books. We can't have those folks be in power. So we got to be honest and say, okay, there's been some shortcomings, but there's some real differences, and we can't let these folks who are anti our lives be able to get more power than what they already have.
That's right. And I think we also have to be honest and prepared with facts and be knowledgeable about the things that have been done. Because I gotta be honest with you, I last week, Vice President Harris went to New York and made this announcement about the forming of the Equal Opportunity Commission, the public and private funds that are coming together with tens of billions of dollars, like real United States money, U.S. currency, tens of billions of dollars that are being invested in underserved communities. And she went to New York, she made the announcement at Restoration Plaza and touted the good work that they're doing. Restoration Plaza is now being led by a Black woman lawyer from Jamaica, Blondell, and it was all amazing. But I gotta tell you, I didn't hear, like, the information was embargoed, but the White House was reaching out 5, 10 times saying, do you want to interview this person? Do you want to interview this person? This is going to be available 5:30 tomorrow. Mainstream will give it a blip, but I'm like, where the Black folks at? Because when we talk about crime in our communities because of joblessness, this is an answer to that is not going to come from the insurrectionists. When we talk about, being able to have any kind of economic freedom or liberty or education or taking care of our families, this kind of initiative is what our votes get us that would not happen with a team. They don't want any part of anything like this. So, but I don't hear us touting those things. I think sometimes I just hear more of the complaints. And when people say, oh, they ain't done nothing for us, we'll say nothing.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and there's tons of examples like that. Like even if you take the infrastructure bill, right? If you're somebody who believes that water in our communities is a crisis, because it's not just Flint, right? We go to in any state, it's Flint, it's South Carolina, it's Alabama, all these states. If you believe that water is an issue, then that infrastructure bill means something, and it doesn't just mean something for the whole country. It means something specifically for Black folks, right? If you're you mentioned the Black woman lawyer. If you're somebody who believes it's important to have a Black woman on the Supreme Court, guess what? That's real. That's not made up. That's something that actually happened that would not have happened if we didn't win those 2 Senate seats in Georgia and be able to get that 50-50 Senate. And that's not just a matter of symbolism, because that's a matter of something that can shape policy in this country for the next 40 years, right? At least. And so there are some very real things that are taking place, votes that have taken place on things like if you were concerned about baby formula, if you were concerned about insulin, if you were concerned about gas prices, there's some very real policies and funding that would impact our community that is being held up because we don't have a wider margin in the Senate. So there are some very real things that have been done and some things that have been attempted that it really makes it clear why it matters, and again matters in our community, Black folks specifically, so that we can get some more progress. And those are the conversations that we have to have. And yes, you're absolutely right that some of it has got to be that the White House, the folks that are running, that they need to do a better job of messaging. But that's the last thing I'm gonna say on that real quick. At the end of the day, a lot of these races is not just about this national narrative, right? At the end of the day, it's about candidates who are running for positions. And the bottom line is that some candidates are better than others at making their case. Senator Warnock in Georgia has been doing a good job of making the case of why he needs to be sent back, right? Some other Senate candidates might not be doing as good of a job. And so some of this is on them and how they communicate. But guess what? That's why organizations like us, we don't leave it up to them to frame our issues correctly and to address our community correctly. That's why we do our own messaging, because sometimes, hell, a lot of the times, we message better to our folks about those issues that matter than the candidates themselves. And so we've all got to play a part in that conversation. Like we always say, we want everybody we touch, everybody on this IG Live right now, everybody we touch is an organizer. Everybody we touch can help to spread that message. If each one of us here tells 5 friends and then they tell 5 friends, then we can be responsible for getting out the messaging that our community needs in order to vote effectively. We can't leave it up to the candidates, and we certainly can't leave it up to these parties.
Well, we're going to do our part, Cliff Albright. That's what I'm saying. Make It Make Sense is going to be doing our part, and thankfully, you have put your faith in us so that we can partner to do some things together. And I just want everyone on here to know, and everybody who's going to see this later on YouTube, one of the things you can do is share this information. But we're going to be here focusing on voting once a week at least until midterms. And I'm going to be highlighting things that Black Voters Matter is doing, campaigns that they are focusing on to get the vote out and to highlight our concerns and our issues in our community. So I would love for you all to take this ride with us. I am so excited. With friends like you all, we don't even have to worry about enemies. We got the secret sauce. So I thank you for that. I think that it's tagged. I have pinned Black Voters Matter. You guys see it there. So please follow them everywhere and continue to give to their organization. When I post the reel from this. The fundraiser will attach to that as well. And I'm thankful to you, Cliff. I'm thankful to Latasha. I'm thankful to all the people that you have on your great team on the ground. And we're ready to get to work.
We're ready to get to work. Thank you so much for everything that we're doing. Black media matters, right? Black journalism matters. So thank you so much for everything we do. And I just want the folks listening to remember, y'all, we got power. We've got the power to change the direction of this country. We've got the power to change and reshape our communities. We demonstrated that. We've demonstrated that historically. We shocked the country in Georgia in 2020 and 2021. And I'm here to predict that we're going to shock the country again in at least 5 states. There's at least 5 states that are going to go in a way that none of the experts believe is possible. 5 states where that's going to happen. And guess what? When it happens, it's going to be because Black voters came out and showed out and made history once again and demonstrated that we got power. When we work together, we win. That's what our history shows us, y'all.
That's right. All right. Well, we got the power, and I'm looking forward to it. And, you're welcome back here anytime as our members of your team, and we're going to be covering everything as best we can. Thank you so much for joining today, Cliff. We'll see you soon.
Thank you. Y'all be good.
All right. Bye-bye. Guys, I am so excited. If you can't tell, I am just thankful for Cliff. I'm thankful for Black Voters Matter and for their team and everything that we're going to be doing. As I said, today we're officially starting with them as a friend of the show, which means they have joined with us and are supporting us financially. And we're working together to get the work out and get the work done and get the word out. And we are going to be talking to you about why your vote matters and why you matter as a voter and what the differences are, what the things are that are at stake in this election. So if you want to join us and come on board, we welcome you. If you have an organization that would like to join as a friend of the show, and be able to promote what you're doing on the show, then you can email us at sales@MoniquePressley.com. But if you'd like to just support via donation, you can do that as well. And that is through Cash App, $MoniquePressley or through PayPal. It's paypal.me/MoniquePressleyTV. And you can find all of that at the link tree in my bio. But most importantly, as I always say, you can share this information. You can tell somebody something you learned today, something you're thinking about, something you're motivated to do, tweet about it, post on Facebook, post on Instagram, tag Cliff, tag Black Voters Matter, tag me, hashtag make it make sense, hashtag we got power, whatever it is to show that you're on board and you are joining in with us. As Cliff said, we all are organizers. We all are activists. We all have power and platform when we use it. So I want each of us to do that. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you found this motivating on your Monday, because we definitely are highly motivated to make sure that our country keeps going in the right direction. And it's going to take all of us together. I will see you back here tomorrow, noon Eastern, on Make It Make Sense. Have a great day.